Hello, I'm Michelle Clary. I'll be presenting on EDL's 854 Module 12, the Budget Debacle Case Study. In the Budget Debacle Case Study, it takes place at Briardell Elementary School, where they have approximately 600 students in kindergarten through 5th grade. Briardell is one of 8 elementary schools in the district. There are also 2 middle schools and 1 high school. The school district's curriculum focuses on basic skills and educational instruction objectives at each elementary school site based on student performance. The foundation is established to support supplementary programs such as art, music, and foreign language, and it is heavily supported by parents at the school. This year, the Briardell Foundation president, Mr. Barley, has established an event to sell raffle tickets for cash to raise money. It is supposed to be the most amount of money ever raised at Briardell Elementary. At the event, after the first raffle ticket was to be drawn, Mr. Barley was arrested by the local sheriff and booked and convicted of a misdemeanor and placed on probation in his role for the raffled cash. This was quite the hiccup that no one expected to happen. This event ended up on the front page of the newspaper and left a permanent mark on the Briardell Foundation. The legal issue that came up was, if you're going to be raising funds that are more than $25,000, you're going to need a charitable license. Whoever tipped off the local sheriff knew that the Briardell Foundation president, Mr. Barley, did not obtain a charitable license. So therefore, he was arrested and convicted of this misdemeanor. The Briardell Foundation's reputation was publicly damaged. Mr. Santos, the principal, was personally embarrassed. So let's take a look at what happened. The Budget Debacle Case Study has identified that the school district should have established measures in place to ensure that the foundations and/or other organizations that raise funds to support local schools are complying with the law when conducting fundraisers. The facts: the people who are involved: the principal, Mr. Santos, the foundation president, Mr. Barley, the sheriff, and members of the community. The place where it happened was at Briardell Elementary School, which is also the town's community meeting center. The program that's at risk are the foundation raises money for supplementary curriculums such as art, music, and foreign language. Let's review the information. So the conflict is the funding formula for the supplementary curriculum subjects is confusing within the school district policy. There's a competition between the elementary schools as to who raises the most money for the foundations. There's no public guidelines of how the money is to be distributed. The principal's budget receives the foundation funds to support the curriculum programs recommended by the foundation. The school site curriculum committee does review the curriculum programs that are recommended by the foundation. The stakeholders of the fundraising event are the students, the teacher, the principal, and the community's trust. There needs to be more information on the district's funding policy procedures and the district's foundation policy and the amount of money that's needed to maintain the current programs within the school. There's 3 options to consider that Mr. Santos, as the building principal, could consider now that he has this debacle on his hand. Mr. Santos could do nothing and go on with his budget the way that it is for the school year. The second option Mr. Santos could look at would be to accept responsibility for the first fundraiser not being executed as planned. To ensure the funds are available for programs, make the current budget public and identify the need to continue the existing programs at Briardale, and develop a new strategy to raise funds with the principal's approval. There also could be a third option. A third option is, again, Mr. Santos, the principal, accepting responsibility for the raffle for cash event fundraiser not being executed as planned, and give the community and the curriculum committee access to the foundation's budget funds that are available, and project the costs to keep the current programs running for the current school year. Work with the foundation committee to establish another fundraiser if funds are needed for the current school year programs. The next steps he could do is work with the superintendent to identify the board policy of who should be overseeing and regulating their activity meaning the foundation. Next, they could identify who should be on the foundation: chair, parents, or a school employee, or a joint person. Develop a foundation operational system with a yearly audit of the foundation that should be implemented district-wide, and advocate for an equitable funding formula for supplementary curriculum subjects that could be used in all throughout the whole district at each and every elementary school. Let's evaluate the options. Let's take a look at the cons. The cons for option 1 is that it doesn't promote a collaborative effort among the key stakeholders, and it doesn't ensure that the same debacle wouldn't happen again. The cons for option 2 is that it does not advocate for a data-informed decisions and equitable resource planning. It doesn't evaluate the resources and operations of the school, and it could promote distrust in the use and management of the school funds. A con for option 3 is it could take a whole school year or longer to fully develop and implement each of the steps that the principal and the superintendent would need to review. Pros for the options. There are no pros for option 1. Option 2 promotes the programs being used and costs to implement them. It supports student learning and adult development. A pro for option 3 is it manages resources in the operation of the school and the school district's policies. It constructs an appropriate organizational policies and systems. It promotes collaborative effort among key stakeholders, and it inspires new creative approaches for improving the district policy while promoting student learning. Choosing the best option. I think option is the best option to promote a collaborative effort among key stakeholders. It constructs organizational policies at the district level that can be implemented in all schools. This could be done in hopes of deterring competition among schools, and it rebuilds trust among the community and the school district. Option 3 constructs the establishment of roles and responsibilities for building administrators and the foundation. It promotes teacher involvement and leadership skills by heading the school site for the curriculum committee, and it promotes academic success, learning, and development of students. As the principal of Briardale Elementary School, communication to the staff and community will be a key role in implementing the next steps of raising funds for the school's supplementary curriculum budget. Make the curriculum school budget needs for the current school year available for the curriculum committee and the community, and have identifying funds that are needed to implement the programs for the current school year. Get input on if the programs will need to be cut or continued. Develop a data-driven protocol on which the programs will be cut Establish protocols on what it will take for them to be reinstated if they were cut. Get input from the foundation if another fundraiser can be implemented for this school year. As the building principal, I would promote the current success that my students are having in the building based on the programs that we are using. Those would be the programs that I would continue to fund. I would also make sure that all of my students had as many opportunities as the budget would allow for them. In this case study, there's a lot of moving parts. The moving parts of knowing as a building principal what your budget will and will not allow, knowing the legal ramifications of not having everything in place to have a fundraiser with the community, and then not knowing exactly what your board policy is to implement of who should be running the foundation and what your role is with the foundation. There's a lot of resources out there that parents such as the foundation members would like to implement, but as a building leader, you're going to need to take a look and see if they match up with what your federal and state guidelines and what your curriculum is already supporting and how it will be implemented, and if your teachers hold the credentials to be implementing these programs, and what's it going to take to maintain these programs year after year. I think in Mr. Santos's case, his best policy would be to try again to have another fundraiser and just be completely honest with the community of what funds they need to continue with the programs that need to be implemented this year. And then I would fully support him working with the superintendent to identify clearer policy and regulations of board policy that can be implemented in the school districts so something like this would not happen again. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.